You are listening to episode 125 of the Game Deflators Podcast. My name's John, and I am joined by Ryan.
Hey everybody, here at the Game Deflators Podcast, we like to talk about games we've recently picked up, games we're currently playing, and I thought it would never end in today's Inflation-Deflation Challenge.
Absolutely love that. So, this week, we played a little bit of Rez Infinite on the PS4, one of the free games that is out in March, correct? And I think into April, if I recall.
Yeah.
I don't remember our exact dates on that. But we played that, and we got a few cool a few cool articles we're going to be reading this week. The first one is going to be the PS3 DRM kills digital games, and also within this article in particular, they also talk about the PlayStation 4's DRM as well, and how it won't allow you to play physical games after the fact. And that's after it dies. We'll get into that a little bit later. The PlayStation 5 may be adding PlayStation 3, PlayStation 2, and PlayStation 1 backwards compatibility. That is based on a new patent that Sony has released, and fans are now speculating. We've also got a rare, never open N64 DD or disk drive Dev Kit that was opened for the first time this week. And, what's that? GameStop is now selling GPUs, or so they say. Okay, Ryan, as we do with every week, our current pickups.
I've got stuff.
You actually got stuff, so let's go with you first.
So, everybody out there in gaming world who is a Sony person, there's free games out there, folks. Go get them. We talked about this last week, but once again, I will just reiterate, you can get Rez Infinite, Abzu, The Witness, Enter the Gungeon, Subnautica, Moss, Astrobot, Paper Beast, and Thumper, all for totally free through April 1st, through March 31st, 2021 at 8 p.m. PDT. And then on April 19th, Horizon Zero Dawn comes out for free, so I will have another pickup in the next month. Man, it feels good. Like, this is what it's like to accumulate stuff.
Yeah, it really is. And digitally, too, right? So for those listening, based on the date that Ryan just gave, you will have until tomorrow to be able to pick up those games. Since it'll be released, this episode will be released. No. You'll have until Tuesday, I think, or Wednesday. Sorry. Man, I'm like all off of my dates, dude. Okay. So, what else did you pick up?
I borrowed Mario Odyssey from John.
Oh, you're welcome. You're quite welcome.
So that I can start working on at least one of my new games resolutions, hopefully.
I really think that the first game that needs to be played in my new house is going to be Blue's Clues.
Yeah, might as well get that out of the way.
Yeah, I think we need to record that while you're playing it. That should be pretty great. You're lucky though, because I got to get new shelving up. I've got to dig out all the games.
There's going to be a barrier.
Yeah, there's going to be a
time frame.
There will be a time frame. We're going to have a number of episodes here coming out that we've luckily pre-recorded for some good fun that people enjoy. Okay, and then it looks like you also installed Mario, so you're on your way.
Yeah.
All right, good stuff. No playing, just installed.
Dude, so here's the thing. I've still been really busy with my new job, and when I come home, as much as I'd love to play video games, all I want to do is sit down and read Berserk anymore. So that's kind of I hang out, do some stuff at home, have some dinner, and then, go to bed early like an old person and do a little bit of reading. So it's I gotta play these games, man. I really do. 4 months in, we've got 8 months.
Yeah, I'll
to
knock
do
out
both
Conkers.
of these games, and I should be able to do that, but I gotta start doing it.
So here's the thing for our loyal listeners: you can use the hashtag excuses on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter on the Game Deflators and at the Game Deflators on Twitter, or no, at Game Deflators on Twitter and at the Game Deflators on Instagram and Facebook. So yeah, hashtag excuses for Ryan.
Hashtag bad podcast host.
Bad podcast host. Hashtag never gonna complete Persona. Okay.
Oh, never gonna complete. Don't ever say that word.
We'll see.
Finish.
Finish
at best.
Never gonna finish. Okay. Our pickups for myself. Okay. So I said that wrong. My pickups included Hades on the Nintendo Switch. So you had picked it up digitally. I saw that Hades is going to have a very limited run, technically on retail shelving, and was like $30. Why not? Let's grab a physical copy and hold on to it. And when I want to play it, I'll have it. I also got some D&D stuff, so I picked up the Candlekeep, I think it's Candlekeep Mysteries, I believe, is what I picked up, and I got 3 copies of that book.
Dang.
Well, dude, they go for like, when it's all said and done, like $150 in several months. So if I can pick it up at a retail location, local game store for $50, because they have to sell it for retail or market, what is it, the MSRP, suggested retail price. Every time I go in, I'm just like, 2 copies of each book, 2 copies. Like, remember that Xanthers guy that I bought you? $200. Like,
is it serious?
Yeah, it's two. No, actually, it's more. It's like 300 now.
What?
A new copy is like $300 of that book.
What?
Yes. All those alternate covers go for like crazy amounts of money.
You D&D people are nuts.
It is ridiculous, dude.
I've got a couple of those alternate covers, and I mean, they're cool, but like $300 cool?
Apparently, dude. Like, they're just, so they get one release. They only go to local game stores. They get released one time, and that's it.
Dang.
So it's however many they order. So the one that's not too far from me had 8 books on hand.
Dang.
Like, that's all they had. So you have 8 books for that entire area. And if you think we've only got in this place, like, I don't know,
I've been to like
10
2
stores?
or 3 places.
Yeah, we've only got maybe.
Do they go out to like mass places like Barnes and Noble?
No, I mean, it's really just the local game store retail setting, from my understanding. I don't think Barnes & Noble's supposed to get these. It's supposed to be kind of that D&D store benefit, right? So you have the alternate covers because you run a local game store. So it's kind of that, hey, because you do this, we're going to give you something special to bring those consumers in.
Do you think it works the way like alternate covers for comic books do, where it's like you order 100 regular issues and you get one alternate cover that's like, for every 10 you get one of these, and then for every 100 you get one of these alternate covers, so it's like it kind of builds up. I mean, I know that there's only one alternate cover, but like I wonder if they distribute X amount to store based on their total order volume or something.
I'm not 100% sure on that, but when I looked at the store locally or not locally, but the one that was, I guess it was local, the one that was near me, it was like 8 copies of the alternate cover that they had in hand, and then I looked and there was only about 2 copies of a regular right next to it. I don't necessarily know if they can say like, hey, we only want to buy alternate copies, because that would seem kind of weird, like, oh, you're not going to buy our regulars, you're just going to buy alternates. That might be
you wouldn't be able to buy enough.
Yeah, exactly, because there's probably not enough to go around. So you might be right. It might be based off of an order figure of, hey, if you order X amount, we're going to give you this.
For every 10 you get one.
Yeah, and I remember when I worked within a comic game store, we had Diamond Comics was a big distributor that would ship a lot of it, and they ship a lot of comics, and so there were a lot of like benefits. So, you want to get this? Well, we'll sell you this, but it's going to have like, it'll cut the price at this point, and then you'll get like one alternate figure or one alternate comic based on however many you order. So it was interesting to kind of see that behind the scenes process. But when I was there, we didn't really we bought D&D stuff, and we were starting in on buying D&D stuff. I wasn't into it at that point. Like, we sold the minis and everything else, and the boosters as well. But we would split the boosters and sell them individually, like on racks, so people. It was a legit booster, it wasn't a case. But I do recall with D&D that we just didn't. I don't think we got alternate covers back then when I was doing it. And I don't think that we went through like a diamond for that. I think we went through like one of the local distributors in the area, like a regional distributor, and just said, hey, we want to pick up however many copies of D&D books and booster cases and just ship them out. Like, we didn't have like...
Well, that would have been back in like 3.5, right?
No, that was 5. That was when 5 first kicked off, which is crazy because if
Wait,
we
when did 5 come out?
5 came out in, I think, 2013, 2014.
And I totally skipped over 4. I don't know why I went all the way back to 3.5 right
Was there
away.
a 4?
Yeah.
There was?
Yeah.
That's how poor it
4E was like not super popular. Matt Colville talks about it in high regard, and I think it sounds interesting. It's just it's a totally different system. Like, as opposed to everybody having I don't know too much to want to speak on it, but the idea is that everybody has like powers.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the warrior can do stuff kind of on the same level as like the wizard, as opposed to like if you've got a wizard who just slept and has all his spells, like he's infinitely better than a warrior. and a warrior's like gonna be good later on because they don't run out of spells that way. But I don't know. I never played it.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously never played it. I didn't play 3.5 either.
I played one of those.
So I do think, though, like, I mean, not having played 3.5 or 4 or any of the other, prior sets, 5e is very much a player-friendly game, I feel. Like, it was super quick for me to pick up and understand. And even
September 30th, 2014 is when 5e came out.
Nice. And so even Justin, dude, like, we got him in a campaign virtually. Like, he's not even playing in person with us. He played one time in person when he was here back in November. And then ever since then, he's been playing online with us, and he's had no problems picking it up, dude. Like, he's picking things up super fast. He's getting his weapons in order. He knows how he's supposed to do ability checks. Like, it's all very much streamlined for him now. And, I think it's just a real easy game to get into nowadays compared to maybe what it used to be. And that's me speaking out of, not understanding 3.5 and having played those in the past. But, I mean, would you say that 3.5 is probably a little harder to learn than the 5e?
3.5 is just, like, way more numbers. Like, we never even got up to level 10, and I had, like, a plus 20 to my speech or something crazy.
Yeah, and like...
Or, like, I was rolling in the 20s regularly, like, low 30s.
That's crazy. So yeah, I think that's part of it, right? Like the most difficult part of D&D is more so tied to the numbers and trying to understand the stats more so than it is the story.
Way more stats. And the way that you get stats is like, I was playing as a rogue, and rogues get like 3 times as many stat skill points to put into levels every level up than like a warrior gets like 2 maybe or 3. So it's like and there's like certain things you could do, like you can do tie-ins where like if you get like 10 tumbling, you automatically get to add like 2 to your balance stat. And then if your balance stat reaches a certain point, you can add 2 to some other stat. So it's like you could plot it out in a way that makes it so you get like infinitely more points by strategically placing them, and like you can level everything up like crazy. That's what I was doing, but it's nuts. There's just so many more rules and supplements and stuff. You can just like really break it open and do kind of whatever.
Yeah, and I think Neverwinter Nights is kind of built on that same module at 3.5 build, if I'm correct. Just the whole thing of like balance and all of that is just reminding me of like what I had to do within that game to build up our character that we were playing. And we were playing, I think, Rogue is what we played in that game. And then also this week, I picked up all the PlayStation 4 games that were free, of course, in addition to the PlayStation Plus games that I hadn't picked up yet for March. And surprise, surprise, I am still playing Apex Legends. Level 120-something right now. I've got consistent, level 500 players that are inviting me to their party and stuff now, which is pretty cool. So that's actually kind of nice to have, like, consistency with folks, like, jumping and saying, oh, hey, come and join with us, and talking with them on a mic. And there's a few people I've played with in the past that, like, if you play poorly for a few matches, like, all right, I'm going to not play for tonight, and then they're still playing because they just don't want to play with you. And then there's some that are like, I don't care. Like, I was playing with a guy the other night where he was getting blitzed while we were playing the game and just like drunk and smoking and everything else. At some point in the game, this guy passed out. Like, it was me and another 500 player, and we're just kind of chit-chatting. And I'm like, hey, is so-and-so like awake? And we're like, hey man, you there? And like, we had heard him in the background doing things. And next thing you know, we're like, yeah, he's not there. Let's leave the party. And like, he was just done. Like, he collapsed at some point. Like, he just fell asleep or passed out. But yeah, it's been interesting. So I'm enjoying Apex still. And, of course I'm moving, so there's not really an opportunity right now for me to play, anything super grindy like a Jade Cocoon or jump into anything new. So it's nice to just pick up Apex, play it for a bit, put it down, and that's it. So hopefully once I get settled into a new place, I can get the N64 set down and start playing Conkers. Like, I need to jump into that. We're, like you said earlier, we're 4 months in to the year, and I got to start.
Yeah.
So we're 3 months total into the year, going into month 4. All right. Well, we've already talked about our articles that we are going to be discussing this week. So let's jump into the first one here, which is the PS3 DRM Kills Digital Games. This report was by Rishi. It looks like Abi Rian. I can barely see from here.
Albanian.
This is from IGN. So the general idea here, and I've seen this on a
Or
lot
no,
of...
sorry, Rishi Alwani. I don't know what happened. It must have like auto-corrected when I put the name in.
Gotcha.
Sorry about that, Rishi.
You're good, man. And so this article, I've seen a lot of this on different forums and such, mainly Xbox players making fun of Sony players is what I've seen this come from. But essentially what it's saying is that within your consoles, you have like this battery.
The CMOS battery.
The CMOS battery. And so what happens is if the battery dies and Sony disconnects their servers to the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4 and such, you lose the ability to be able to do any sort of updates to those games. And in turn, because you can't do any updates and because you are not able to sync up to trophies that are tied into those games, you lose the ability to play those games.
Even physical.
On the PlayStation 4. On the PlayStation 3, so far, they said it's only digital. Sounds like you can still play physical on the PlayStation 3, which doesn't sound to be like an issue. But the PS4 is worse because not only are you not able to play digital, you also can't play physical, is what the report is saying. It does seem kind of odd to say like, oh, well, this battery is not going to allow me to play, because I don't think you have to technically be connected to a PlayStation 4 or have a PlayStation 4 connected to the internet to play, correct?
Well, it has to be able to get like the timing from the PlayStation Network or a hackway in order for the trophy system to be able to sync up.
So I guess my question would be, is if his battery dies at any point and a PlayStation 4 not having to be connected to the internet at all times, could I theoretically just toss in a new battery and then once the time is set? I mean, I guess if the server is disconnected, I don't have the ability to update it, which is a fear everybody has. But if PlayStation 3 servers and such, like the free game, or not free games, but the stores are just now getting shut down, and that console was launched in 2006, I think it's safe to say we're probably going to have PS4 servers up for at least another 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
I would think it's safe to say.
I mean, and it's saying in the article that replacing the CMOS battery is not the hardest thing to do. Like, I've been watching some Spawnwave for a while, and on the weekends he'll do a video where he'll, like, tear something apart, and it's like, I've not really had a whole lot of confidence. I think the first time I ever really did something was when I was trying to fix my PS3 controller a couple years ago. And, you know, you just got to be able to, you know, break that tape, because you're obviously not going to send it into them, so it doesn't really matter if you break the tape anymore. But go in there and do it. Like, that's just part of maintaining any legacy electronic at this point, is, you know, making sure that batteries and other things are up to snuff. And also, you know, I was kind of thinking about this when I was reading this article. Like, we're so nervous about the all-digital future, and we've got so many great hardworking people out there that have really dedicated a lot of time and energy toward preservation. Like, we saw that big dump of all those different PS2 games a few weeks ago, like all the in-development games, and there's been so many museums started, and people like you with these massive game collections. It's like, for the most part, we're not going to really lose access to a way to have access to those things. Like, it may not be the most convenient way. Like, if I'm kind of upset that the Vita store is shutting down. Not that I've actually bought anything digitally on my Vita in years, but it's always nice to know that's there. But, like, we kind of got to get over the fact that, you know, new games keep coming out, and the newer generations aren't going to want to go back and play every little piece of video game history, the same way that people don't go back and watch every movie ever made or go back and read every book ever written. Like, we got to be okay with letting the things that we grew up with and the things that we think are important be important to us, but it's not really this catastrophic loss for the future if people don't have access to Lost in Shadow for the Wii.
Yeah, well, that's a good game. But, to your point as well, is like, yes, I see the panic and, oh, well, I can't play my PS3 games digitally. Okay, well, that's on you for buying digital when so many people have said, hey, what happens if they disconnect the servers? Hey, what if this occurs? What if this occurs? Like, everybody's bringing up reasons to these digital-only collectors and saying physical is the way to go. And for those on PlayStation 3 that went digital, well, they're going to get screwed in the long run versus those physical collectors like myself. Now, on the PlayStation 4, it's obviously a different case because if that dies, and there's obviously the problem with it not allowing you to play physical. However, we just had the PlayStation 5 launch with backwards compatibility for the PS4. So I can still play PS4 games on a PS5. So say my battery dies in 5 years, right? I'll go buy a new PlayStation 5 years from now if I want to, and I'll have an extended period of time to keep playing those games if I want to. It's going to be probably 20 years by the time I am no longer able 100% to play those PlayStation 4 games. By then I'm going to be, like 50-something? I'll likely be playing the next console that's out at that point.
PS7.
Yeah, and
it's so real.
I totally understand it's more of the, it's the, the idea that they're allowing this to happen, right? Sony hasn't come out with an official statement, first off, on this. This is all people clamoring and getting pissed off. Until Sony comes out with an official statement, we'll see what happens, and they support their consoles for a long time. I mean, the PlayStation 2 is support. I think, when was the last PlayStation 2 game or console produced? It was only in the last several years that Japan stopped producing them, new PlayStation 2s.
Oh, something like that, or maybe it was maintaining them.
I don't remember the exact. I know we talked about it probably 50, 60 episodes ago. So about a year ago, we talked about this. But I can see Sony supporting the PlayStation 3 for some time. Obviously, they're not producing it, but they just cut off the store component. It doesn't mean they're not going to support it from maybe updates necessarily. They've just cut off a certain piece. PlayStation 4 will be supported for a number of years. PlayStation 5 will be supported for a number of years. So I'm personally not worried. And also at the end of the day, there's so many hackers that in the next 20 years, there's bound to be somebody that's going to hack this damn console and give us all the ability to play these games without having to connect to a PlayStation server.
I mean, it probably already exists for what we know, and it's just not in the article.
Exactly. So, I mean, I am not worried about this. People are up in a panic for nothing. Technology is going to continue to improve, and we are going to have access to these games in a physical nature. Digital is a different story, but from a physical standpoint, I think we'll be fine.
I think it's just been a lot of kind of Google shut down their stuff. Oh, PlayStation's going to be shutting down their stuff. It's just kind of it's been in the news a lot lately, so I could see the reaction to it kind of going this way.
Well, and tied to this, our next article here is PlayStation 5 adding PS3, PS2, and PS1 backwards compatibility. And while this is just a patent that's been released, fans are speculating that this is the case.
Well, and this is actually not a brand new patent either. I saw somebody, I think it was Spawnwave, cover this earlier this week, and this has actually been kind of out there for a while now. So I don't know if that other kind of panic going on right now kind of inspired people to go back and look at this. But basically, it's a system they want to try to implement, or, the idea of its implementation would be through emulation, you take, a certain game value of, a point in the game. So let's say, Legend of the Dragoon. You get to the point where, you beat the first boss, and there's some value that they can identify in the emulation, and they set that as a trigger in the system that when it sees that value, it triggers the PlayStation 5 to reward you a trophy. So this would be a way to put legacy trophy support into any old games that don't have it built in through whatever actual system triggers trophy awarding. So, I mean, it's good that they're thinking about it. I mean, there's really no reason why, if Xbox has gone through and put all this effort in, that Sony's not, except for, I don't know, maybe they're just focusing too much on other things. I know we talked last week about PSVR 2 coming out. Xbox doesn't, I think they just said very recently, we are not planning on doing VR anytime soon. Don't look at us, because I think that the HoloLens was in the news again, or some other Microsoft AR thing. But yeah, they should. My brother-in-law, he's got a PS3 with the backwards compatibility and a PS5, and that's all he needs. Those two systems, he can play every PlayStation game.
Yeah.
And that's not bad.
No, that's not bad.
To just be limited to two, because you can't do that with Nintendo. Every Nintendo console is basically its own platform.
Except for the GameCube to Wii and then Wii to Wii U. Those were backwards compatible.
DS, 3DS.
Yeah, DS, 3DS. and then you've got your Game Boy all the way up until
everything
DS
can
Lite.
play Game Boy games.
Yeah, for the most part, yeah.
It's probably easier to play Game Boy games on your phone than anywhere else.
Yeah, it's true. You could buy that slot that pops into the phone. I forgot about that. But at the end of the day, too, with this whole patent situation, and maybe one of the reasons, and by the way, this was Tyler Fischer at comicbook.com for this article, but maybe one of the reasons we haven't heard anything from Sony regarding this whole DRM problem is because maybe they are planning to do something backwards compatible. Maybe they are going to let you play PS3, PS2, and PS1. Yeah, or maybe they just don't care. But at the end of the day, if PlayStation 5 does get backwards compatibility, then who cares about the digital component? Now, if you made purchases on the PlayStation 3, I'm not 100% aware on this one. But do they not carry over on PS4? Can you not grab those games if they're available on the PlayStation 4 because you purchased them on your account? I don't think so.
I don't believe so, because I've got some stuff on PS3, and I think I remember there being...
I guess it depends on if it's even available.
Just most of those games aren't available. They're not available. There's no PS3 games available on the PS4 store.
Yeah.
I want to say there's no... are there PS1 games? I've got Final Fantasy IX on PlayStation 3.
Yeah, and I got Suikoden 1 on PlayStation 3 as well. I don't recall. I don't honestly look for retro.
I've got Suikoden 2 on Vita. If they make that available on PS5, they're not going to let me just download it there for free, I doubt.
I doubt it. And, honestly, I don't really go searching for retro games on the PlayStation 4 anyways. You'd
rather have the physical copy. Why waste the digital money?
Yeah, I never buy digital copies of games to begin with, unless it's these free ones. That's it. I never touch...
And then you're not buying them.
Yeah. Well, I guess I should take that back. I did download Fall Guys. But that's because my wife really wanted to play it.
Well, and that's only digital.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get into our next thing. This article is going to be by Sean Knight at TechSpot. And it says, Rare never opened N64 disk drive dev kit gets open for the first time. So basically... the dev kit was really only released in Japan. It was kind of Nintendo's answer, in a sense, to the PlayStation having a disc-based media. Nintendo understood that the cartridge wasn't going to be, I guess, technically as powerful, as you could say, as a disc-based type of game. So they had this disc drive that was released out in Japan, never really did make it out to the US, and it wasn't really sold very well. So it's a pretty rare piece of equipment for the N64. And recently, a guy had one that was sealed and decided to open it up to take pictures.
And this one was a dev kit, too, not just the retail version.
Yeah, so he went ahead and took this thing, opened up a brand new version of it, and took pictures of it, or really kind of showed his progress of opening it, which is really cool. Guy lost probably a ton of value on it, right? Showing that it was, opening it to show it off. But at the end of the day, I think it's pretty cool, man, getting to see, that old and rare of a piece of equipment get open from its original packaging. That's just not something that you see every day. And, it's kind of I would put it akin to whenever somebody takes an old pack of alpha from Magic the Gathering to try and open it up, and opens it up to see what they can get. I saw the video of a guy that opened up a Black Lotus from a pack, and his hands were just literally shaking while he was doing it. He had the blue gloves and everything on to tongs just to make sure that...
Just don't breathe.
Yeah, just don't breathe on it. It's behind plexiglass as I do this. So...
In one of those, incubator tanks with, the big gloves.
Yeah, put it into, the plastic sleeve, right there, and, send it to Beckett.
Careful. Careful.
It's Homer up to plutonium in The Simpsons trying to put this card into a thing. But yeah, I would put it akin to that. This is super cool, and being able to... I haven't seen all of the photos. I want to take a look at it again, but being able to see everything just popped out, it's just interesting, dude. It's a feel-good article for this week, for somebody to go check that out.
Well, and it's cool to see the differences too, because in the article it talks about Metal Jesus had done an opening on one of these, and it's different. It had a black slot instead of a blue slot, so it's it's interesting to see how minor differences in things exist, and it's was this an earlier model? Was this a later model? There's still lots to speculate on, and it's these are kind of cool not too often of a find things, but like I always wish, like, especially with stuff like this, like, I understand whoever has this is like a collector, somebody with like probably a ton of money this cost them to get. But like, wouldn't it be so much cooler if something like this actually got into the hands of somebody who was gonna like try to use it? Like, it's a dev kit for N64. Like, have somebody like try to make like a, something with it. That would be neat.
Wouldn't surprise me, if somebody did that. So yeah, check that article out. It's pretty cool. Check out all the images tied to that one. The next one is, GameStop sells GPUs now. Or so they did. This is Sean Hollister at Verge.
Speaking of rare, impossible to find technology.
Oh my God. So outside of this article, and we'll dive into it. Well, I guess we'll just say it really quick. So yeah, basically GameStop is now offering GPUs as part of its, offering of products that they have. And they released, their weekly ad saying, we sell these. And of course, within a matter of like seconds, it was sold out. Like whatever they had in stock, which is maybe, 2, like everybody else. So that's really the bulk of that article, is just GameStop is now selling GPUs and they're sold out officially. However, I was reading another article this morning about the overall shortage of the semiconductors and why this is all occurring. This isn't only affecting gaming, which is nuts. Like, it's affecting car manufacturers as well, because they're unable to get chips for vehicles. So like NIO, an electric car manufacturer out of China, shut down production for like 5 days because they were unable to do this. And so, yeah, we can blame scalpers for a lot of this that's occurring, but some of the other global components of it that you have to consider is, of course, COVID shutting down a lot of supply chains. So you have, an issue there. A lot of auto manufacturers didn't put in orders because they assumed that people were not going to be buying new cars and traveling during a pandemic. So they short ordered on everything, which is now you have car manufacturers who are trying to get a bunch of semiconductors as well.
I blame that boat stuck in the canal.
I blame that boat stuck in a canal. That's actually a big issue, apparently. I don't even know how that's possible. A lot of people are saying that's a Middle East conspiracy at this point, trying to shut down and cripple the global economy. That's all nuts, too. But yeah, so you have that. And then, of course, you have manufacturers like AMD and NVIDIA who typically make these products and have their GPUs who are unable to meet certain demands. And then you also have the consoles. So, like, if you think about everything that needs a chip was likely not ordered in excess as to how much they actually needed, because they thought, people aren't going to be spending money. They're not going to want to buy these products. So you had short supply from the get-go on creating it. You also had, or you have major demand coming through, and you have supply chain issues. So they're saying that this problem could go on for a number of years, actually. But it's not so much like, it's going to be fine and dandy once things open back up. Like, they're saying this could be like several years from now, we're still going to be in a shortage as these manufacturers are trying to catch up. So don't even
plan on buying one of these graphics cards. Wait for the next one.
Yeah, wait for the next one. Like, at this point, screw it.
Just skip this whole gen.
Yeah, like, I'm skipping the PlayStation 5. Like, that's it. But yeah, so it's really interesting. And some of the other things they're saying are like the prices of cars, like used cars, for example, are going to be going up because if you can't get a new car because they're just not able to produce these chips, used cars are your next bet, and those prices are going to start skyrocketing.
That was happening a lot. I worked car adjacent last year, and all the used dealerships that I knew, like, they were killing it. But the problem was, because used cars were such a hot commodity, trying to get your hands on used cars to sell was also a challenge.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Because usually those new dealers will just sell off their trade-ins because they're there to sell new cars, not used cars necessarily, but they were hanging on to them because
they could
so
sell
the
them.
Trickle-down kind of goes away, and and also like trying to go to the auctions to buy, like you couldn't physically go to the auctions. Like all the auctions were, sight unseen, like online through photos only, or like through a video tour, and you had to just try to, hope you were getting something that worth your time.
Yeah. It's really an interesting issue occurring globally right now, and hopefully, they can boost up the production of a lot of those products so we can start getting things like new cars and video game consoles and GPUs. Like, I really want my GPU. I'm never going to get one, dude. But
how are they going to make all of these Super Nintendo Switch Pro 2s?
Who knows, man? Like, who knows? Wait, Nintendo Switch Pros too? Yeah, I guess I see what you're saying. We'll just call it every name under the sun. All right. Well, of course,
the best one I saw the other day was the Switch.
The
with
Switch?
2 eyes, like the Wii.
Oh my god. The
Nintendo
Switch. The Switch you. That's awesome. All right, so let's get into our inflation deflation this week. This one is Rez Infinite. It was one of the free games that you have available to you by Wednesday. You said 8 p.m. Is that correct? 8 p.m. Eastern?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, check that out. United Game Artists is the developer on this. It was published by Enhanced Games and Tetsuya Mizoguchi, right?
Yep.
Is that right? Cool. Yeah, that was a producer. It was released in October of 2016. It is a rail shooter and music-based game and had a reception of 9. I actually really enjoyed this game.
Yeah, this was dope. I've heard so many good things about Rez over the years. And I've always kind of been interested in music games. Like, I like DDR. There was an awesome DDR mobile game that I used to play a ton. Elite Beat Agents is awesome. Guitar Hero rocked the world for a long time. People still do. Just Dance, is huge every year, which is just as much about the music as it is about the dancing, really. But,
yeah.
Rhythm and music and video games, it all goes well together. This is an on-rails shooter as opposed to a rhythm game, but you can kind of control your lock-ons and how many targets, and you can still kind of control the sound in a way. It's really neat. This is a dope game. The graphics are very just kind of interesting.
It's lines.
Yeah, it's vector graphics. It's looks like it's out of Tron or something like that,
or out of a Vectrix.
Yeah,
check out that episode. Yeah, dude, I really did enjoy this one for sure. To your point, the music, it does have that what's it called, a rhythm-based type of nature going for it. I guess it is technically a rhythm rail shooter. And yeah, you're right. That whole Vectrix type of look going for the vector type graphics was pretty cool. And it did make me wonder what this would look like in VR. And there is a VR component.
You can play this in VR, I think, on Windows.
And it's highly recommended. It even comes up, you should have surround sound or a headset while playing this game. So I took my surround sound or sound bar.
You cranked it.
I cranked that thing up, dude, and it was sick, having all of that music blasting and the bass pumping while you're playing. It was fun, for sure.
Yeah, it's a dope game. So this was an update to the original Rez with more stuff added into it. I guess it's been kind of updated a couple times.
And I think it was on PlayStation 2 is when it was initially released, right? The original Rez.
Let me see. I've got the
I might be thinking of a different game right now.
Rez was originally launched on the Dreamcast and PS2.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Figured. So yeah, and I think that game's kind of expensive nowadays on the PlayStation 2, but free is a good price to have for this title.
Well, and this was released physical on PS4, but only as a collector's edition. I tried searching on price charting and all I could find was a big box version of this. So that's why the price is a little bit inflated, though it is crazy that the game on its own loose holds almost all of the value of that release.
Well, I think it was a limited run release. And kind of to get back into the game a little bit here, there are, I think, 8 overall stages or 6 overall stages for the game itself. And the general basis of this game is that there's this Project Eden that has gone down, or it's developed a subconscious. And you're supposed to, as this character, you go into the computer system essentially, and you're trying to get past firewalls and viruses by shooting them down to be able to put Eden back online. And so it's a general idea. I mean, it's not a super heavy story, right? It's just kind of give you a basic idea of here's why it looks like the way it looks. But that said, dude,
there's a huge shout out to the music in this.
Yeah,
the music is what it's all about. There's a ton of different people that worked on the music for this. I would really recommend you go to the wiki and look at that, because it's going to give you a much better idea,
Well, and so the boss fights that we had too are pretty cool, because while there is that rhythm-based thing, you're in the rhythm while you're playing this game and just trying to hit all of these targets at once. All of it just kind of meshes together. I mean, it's this crazy bunch of colors and things flying on screen, and you trying to target things while also trying to keep this rhythm, and you're just into it while you're playing it. So I think the reception of a 9 that this received is probably pretty spot on. The only thing I would say that's a negative, and maybe not necessarily a negative, is going to be the amount of levels that are present within that. The game to me went by very quickly while we were, like, you probably do this in one sit down, play this full game.
Yeah.
So when you look at a price point of, we're looking at complete in box $78.86 right now, and peaking at $90.13 back in August of 2020. And then also a loose copy right now at $72.91 and peaking at $79.20 in June of 2020. That's slightly higher than what it was, or it's going up higher, essentially. I mean, it's hard to justify paying that much for a game that's only, like, realistically maybe an hour or two of your time. If you put it, like, if you died at any point, I think that's a little high. I do think it's a great game, though. I would say that reception of a 9 is pretty spot on. What would you say?
You know what? Never mind. I thought it looked like a big box on price charting, but I was fooled because it's got the sleeve open. So it makes it look like you're looking at a box from the corner on, when really it's just a game case that's open. So I'm looking at it here. It was released by I Am 8-Bit.
I Am 8-Bit, okay.
In a limited capacity. So it was originally $39.99. So now it's like gone up to double that almost. So,
well, here's the thing: if you're willing to pay $40 back then, you really want this game, a complete in box copy at $78 is not that far off. You know, if this is a game that you think is going to be of interest to you and something that you want to add to your shelf, and I Am 8-Bit actually does produce some great games. Best Buy has a lot of their games, so I try to pick them up every now and then when I get in there. So what is your overall thought on the reception? I'm going to say that, an 8 or a 9 is about correct on this game.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's definitely a fun game. I was trying to look up because I know that I read that there was like also a big release for the soundtrack for this, which is probably worth even more than a physical copy of the game. But like, this is so about the music that, like, if you're really into it and a huge audiophile, I would suggest, looking into the collectability of, getting like the vinyl set of this, or, a standalone CD set, or something that's really more about the audio, because like the game itself is not really worth throwing that money at, but a really cool CD set or I think it was like a vinyl set that has like 4 discs and like an art book and an interview book and stuff like that. Like, that's worth collecting way more than just a limited release of just this game, I think. So I'm going to go with this one's definitely inflated if you're buying it physically. But, I mean, right now it's free for everyone. So just go get it right now, and you'll never have to worry about it, because nothing beats free.
Until your battery dies.
Yeah.
Until
your battery dies and the world ends.
Even so, like,
nobody cares.
If you can get this game later on at like $20, I think it's totally worth it. $20-$30 for a digital copy, you'd be okay at that point. But yeah, I'm with you, dude. We'll give our rating of inflated here for this game. Well, if you like what you heard, catch us on some other podcast applications if you don't like the one you're on right now, via Podcast Addict, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, CastBox, Overcast, really wherever podcasts are found, we're on there. If we're not on there, let us know in the comments on our social media. And of course, you can catch our out-of-date website, because we have not put in the updates that we need to, at thegamedeflators.com. We do have, of course, an archive of all of our episodes on there, so you can definitely check out older episodes and descriptions that are tied to those on there as well. That being said, this has been episode 125 of the Game Deflators Podcast. My name is John.
I'm Ryan.
And thanks for listening.